Hello friends, looking at current affairs for 5th June. The news items picked up from the Hindu newspaper are these 12. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, 7 killed as UK is targeted for third time in 3 months. So this was a recent terror attack in UK when a high-speed vehicle sped across the London Bridge to Borough Market and 7 people died in these attacks while 48 were injured. The police reached here within 8 minutes of the first distress call and was able to avert the incident. 3 attackers, they were wearing explosive vests. It seemed to be so, but they were hoaxes. They were not actually explosive vests. They were shot dead by the police. So this, and plus the London police has also endorsed this warning system, a new warning system, that whenever people come across such a situation, they have to run, hide and tell others. So this is the way people should respond to such attacks too. This has been highlighted by the London police here. So this incident gains significance because this is just few days before the general elections which are due in UK presently. So post-Brexit, the elections which have been taking place now here, and these attacks are linked. The next is NIA continues terror fund searches in Jammu and Kashmir. So in Jammu and Kashmir, National Investigation Agencies is conducting searches. This is for the second consecutive day at places across Kashmir Valley and also in Jammu, where they are seeing that the separatist leaders here are being funded. Pakistani currency has been found with them. Currencies from UAE, Saudi Arabia has been found and seized by the National Investigation Agency. So how the stone pelters are being funded, terrorist activities are being financed in the Kashmir Valley are being investigated into now. Next is women to get combat role in army. So this is the statement coming from the Army Chief General Bipin Rawat. He says that initially women would be recruited to positions in military police and then later they would also be seen in combat operations. The general completely endorses this idea and is also seeking government approval on this. So this is there. So combat operations, women inclusion is very rare. Few countries like Germany, Australia, Canada, US, Britain, Denmark, Finland and France, Norway, Sweden and Israel, they allow women in combat roles, none other. So these are the only nations which allow women in combat roles, and India is also gearing up for this. So this is a positive sign in this direction. So presently they would be posted in military posts, police posts. So these are the posts in which they have to look after regulation of soldiers, maintain movement of soldiers, logistics, etc. during peace and war, handling prisoners of war, etc. Then next is Pradhan to take up Kalma barrage issue with Central Water Commission. So this is regarding Odisha Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik. He had asked Chhattisgarh to open the Kalma barrage gates to allow free flow of water into Mahanadi River. So this Kalma barrage which is there in Chhattisgarh, this has resulted in Mahanadi River flow being affected. So Chhattisgarh is the upper riparian state. Then Mahanadi flows through Odisha and then into Bay of Bengal. So here demands are being made to allow free flow of water, otherwise people in Odisha are being affected. And now even the minister, Union Minister Dharmendra Pradhan has endorsed this same viewpoint. Next is Trin launched in Mysuru. So this Trin is public bicycle sharing project. So this has been launched in Mysuru in Karnataka, and the Chief Minister of Karnataka himself pedaled this Trin bicycle. So these bicycles will be there available on rent. So people can borrow these bicycles from around 48 docking stations which are there all across the city, and they can return them at the docking station nearest to their destination. So this is what is being planned. So this is the first city in India to have a public bicycle sharing system, Mysuru. Next is tiny orang roars on tiger density. So Orang, which is the recently designated tiger reserve in Assam. So it's the 49th tiger reserve in the country. The latest and the youngest tiger reserve in the country, the 50th one, is in Arunachal Pradesh, Kamlang Tiger Reserve. And we already have seen this quite often earlier, that Assam has the highest tiger density population. So the tiger reserves have tigers. Now tiger density is number of tigers per square kilometer in terms of square kilometer area. So in terms of lesser area and more tigers, Assam has the maximum. as such. So this is again been endorsed here. So we have Orang Tiger Reserve in Assam, which is having the smallest core among the 50 tiger reserves in the country, and it has 28 big cats. So this makes it having the tiger density as around 35.4. So it has the highest tiger density in the country. Kaziranga National Park was earlier first, now it comes to second with 12.72 per 100 square kilometers tigers. And Jim Corbett National Park in Uttarakhand again comes third, and Bandipur National Park in Karnataka comes fourth. So this is being shown here. So you should know about Assam and the tiger reserves. You can see Manas lies here. Orang, which we are talking of, is here. And the other, Dibru-Saikhowa, is another prominent one. Kaziranga here. So Manas, Orang, Kaziranga and Dibru-Saikhowa are the most famous of the tiger reserves in the state. The next is China copter in Indian skies. So again, Chinese helicopter was seen in Indian airspace in Chamoli district in Uttarakhand. So this is the region where line of actual control passes between India and China. So such instances have been there earlier too. Presently too, it was only for 4 minutes that this helicopter entered into Indian airspace. Now whether it was deliberately done or was by mistake is not clear. So investigation has to be done into the matter. Next is new rifle ready but army holds fire. So Ordnance Factory Board has developed this new 7.62 mm assault rifle for the army. It has also begun trials for the weapon. It was manufactured. Manufacturing was completed in record time of 6 months. And it was as per the requirements of the army, but army is not happy with the gun. It is going ahead with global tender for procuring new rifles. So this 4.5 kg rifle is fully automatic. It is a self-loading rifle. It has also these Picatinny rail, means a standard bracket on the gun, so above and below, so that various accessories like night vision devices, under barrel grenade launchers, they can also be mounted with the rifle. So this has been developed, but then Army's initial requirement was 1,85,000 guns, and then it will increase much more later. Army Ordnance Factory Board has already supplied them with over 10 lakh INSAS, that is Indian National Small Arms System rifle. So this is there, but now the army has plans to replace them all, and it's going for a global tender now. So here you can see INSAS rifle was inducted into the army in 1999. So initiation started, fully inducted by 2004, and now it will be phased out. So tender for assault rifles with interchangeable barrels issued in December 2011 was cancelled because none of the companies could meet the service quality specifications. This is regarding the assault rifle, which is not being inducted by the army. It's going with the global tender now. The next is CSIR faces fund crunch, asks lab to look outside. So CSIR, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, which has around 38 labs under it. So this organization is having a fund crunch presently, and it is being blamed on the 7th Pay Commission recommendations, because of which the salaries have increased and the pension requirements have also taken a toll, because of which now funding available with CSIR has significantly reduced, and it says it is not able to fund the projects of various labs across the country, and it's asking them, this was a CSIR director letter to all these labs asking them to look for support from outside. So this is the situation presently, but also a point which is highlighted is that in 2015 CSIR has decided, it is under this Dehradun declaration under Science Minister Harshvardhan, that it will generate about 50% of its budget through external sources. So what the present government is endorsing is that funding should be provided to various projects, but then they should be able to yield results also. So if there is money coming out of them too, then they will be able to sustain themselves. Government would not keep funding them. So this is there. So you can see CSIR receives annual grant close to around 40% of its total income comes from this grant. Then additional income will come from royalties, licenses, dividends from intellectual property which it has developed and maintains. Then next is Aadhaar must for kerosene subsidy Atal Pension Yojana. So Aadhaar will now be made mandatory for subsidy on kerosene. So kerosene subsidy will be linked to Aadhaar with effect from September 30. Even for pension scheme, Atal Pension Yojana, the deadline is 15 June itself. So as long as Aadhaar is there, it's fine. If it is not obtained until that time, ration card, driver license, voter ID, Kisan passbook, etc., which or even MGNREGA card certificates issued by gazetted officers will be considered as proof of identity for benefits. But then the idea is that eventually it has to be linked to Aadhaar. So the minister, as such, Minister for Oil and Natural Gas, is also saying that direct benefit transfer through which subsidies will be transferred directly to the bank accounts of beneficiaries would be undertaken. So PDS kerosene should be purchased at non-subsidized rates, and then the subsidy would be transferred into the accounts. So this is how direct benefit transfer functions. So center allocates these subsidized kerosene to states and union territories for affordable cooking fuel for domestic use. So this is generally used by people living below the poverty line, BPL families. And also under the pension scheme, Atal Pension Yojana, a subscriber gets a minimum pension of 1,000 to 5,000 a month. So depending on the contributions he makes from age 60. So under this Atal Pension Yojana to Aadhaar linking has been made mandatory from September 30. It has been made mandatory for various schemes as such too, but then a case is going on in the Supreme Court, and the government has been arguing that this deadline is not hard and fast. There are inherent provisions, as we see presently too, that till Aadhaar is obtained, other proof of identity will be acceptable. But then eventually the government wants that everything should be linked to Aadhaar. So that is what the case is also going on about. Then next is Commerce Ministry to redefine focus. So now the Commerce Ministry is saying that it wants to shed from its portfolio non-core functions. So foreign trade policy formulation, making it is a core focus area, but implementing it is called a non-core function which it does not want to undertake. Even administrative control over commodity boards like tea board, coffee board, etc. is something which it does not want to look into, and also control over certain PSUs such as MMTC, STC, PEC. It says we don't want to look into all this. So it wants to shift its portfolio and focus basically on the core areas such as foreign trade policy formulation, India's trade talks with other countries, bilateral treaties, and even regional FTAs which are being negotiated, also at World Trade Organization level. So this is being endorsed by the Commerce Ministry, and it is suggesting that foreign trade policy implementation function should be handed over to Central Board of Excise and Customs. But then the Central Board of Excise and Customs has also rejected this, saying that this is not a core competency. So there is already a body called this Directorate General of Foreign Trade. So that is implementing FTP. So a similar body of such an operational structure will have to be set up, and that should be looking into foreign trade policy implementation is what Central Board of Excise and Customs says. So this is there. Also, the Commerce Ministry is keen that these boards like coffee board, tea board, rubber board, spice board, etc., tobacco board, these should be transferred to the Agriculture and Farm Welfare Ministry. So administrative control over them should not be there with Commerce Ministry but Agriculture Ministry. So this is also what Commerce Ministry wants. It cannot decide on its own. This is the government's decision. So this is what it is demanding. So that is being stated here. So there are important FTPs which we are negotiating, broad-based trade and investment agreement with EU. Even at WTO level, we have Doha development rounds which are going on. RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership among 16 nations. Then 10 Asian nations and 6 other nations including India, Australia, New Zealand, China, Japan, South Korea, India. All these nations are involved here. So these are important for us. So that is why we are going ahead with Commerce Ministry is endorsing that it has to focus on these core functional areas only. Then the next news item is, will RBI correct its inflation forecast? So RBI, to be more specific, the Monetary Policy Committee has this bi-monthly monetary policy review done. So the first monetary policy review which was done for the present financial year, at that time RBI changed its monetary policy stance from accommodative to neutral. So what does this mean is, accommodative monetary policy means that if inflation is going low, then RBI has to boost the economy by reducing the repo rate. So repo rate reduction simultaneously reduces the rate of interest in banks. So that repo rate is the rate at which RBI lends to banks for short period. So if the lending rate for banks is low, then banks also are expected that they would keep their lending rates low. So then the credit generation would be enhanced, and that would result in a boost to the economy. So that's how the market is regulated. Monetary policy regulation is done. So this is the accommodative policy stance. But then in the last bi-monthly policy review, the RBI has changed its stance from accommodative to neutral. So neutral means that repo rate can shift anyway. So depending on the condition, if inflation concerns are there, then we may go up. We may, we may increase the repo rate, and if inflation concerns are low, then we may reduce the repo rate. So we'll take a decision based on the situation. So that was the neutral stance taken now. But what we are seeing presently is that inflation is actually dropped. So it should be accommodative only presently too. So inflation in April 2017, CPI based inflation dropped to below 3%. And this is fueled by low food prices, plus also oil prices stay low globally. So that is why inflation level has also gone down. So what would be the stand of RBI on repo rate has to be seen. So the neutral stance means that further reduction of repo rate, which is at 6.2% presently, may happen or no. We are not sure. So this, in the last two policy reviews, RBI has stayed hawkish. So that is why now what would be the further step taken regarding repo rate, we have to wait and watch. So this second bi-monthly policy review will take place on 7th June. So this is again going to come in news. So this is repo rate mentioned here. Repo means repurchase option rate. So this is the rate at which RBI lends to banks for short periods. So what RBI does is it buys government bonds from banks. So government bonds are issued by RBI and the banks buy them, and now repurchasing is done. Means a buying back of these government bonds from the banks is done. So that is what is repo rate all about. So this, if repo rate is increased, then it becomes difficult for banks to borrow money from RBI. So then they will also have their interest rates high. And reverse repo rate is the term which means the rate of interest at which RBI borrows funds from banks. So this is there. So like the repo rate, it is done by RBI by selling government bonds to banks. Then these are the three interest rates shown: bank rate, repo rate, and reverse repo rate. So repo rate, reverse repo rate are for short-term lending, and bank rate is a general lending rate, a rate at which banks can borrow from RBI. So hike in these means interest rates in the economy will go high, and reduction in these means interest rates in the economy will go low. So this is how monetary policy is regulated. So these are the news items. Thank you.